When talking about LeBron James, it is impossible not to mention his incredible basketball talent, his unquestionable skill, and his dominating presence on the court. However, there is something that few people know about him, something that has been carefully hidden for many years. The secret that surrounds LeBron's life is not his achievements in sport, but rather a bold decision he made behind the scenes, away from the cameras and the media. From the beginning of his career, LeBron has always been seen as a prodigy, someone destined to be a star. But few know that he didn't reach the top just because of his hard work or the support of his family. There is an unknown element that played a crucial role in his meteoric rise, something that, if revealed, could forever change the way we see him. During his first few years in the NBA, LeBron was virtually unbeatable, but his success did not come without difficulties. He found himself trapped in a system that tried to mold him according to the expectations of others. The pressure to be perfect, to represent something more than just a basketball player, was immense. And it was in this scenario, full of expectations and power plays, that he made a decision that almost no one noticed. Instead of going the traditional route, LeBron chose to take it a step further and create his own narrative. He knew his story couldn't just be about what happened on the court. It couldn't simply be another story of an athlete who achieved success on his own merits. The secret that no one wanted to reveal was how strategic LeBron was in dealing with his image and his business. Behind his public life, LeBron made shrewd deals, built alliances, and made financial and personal decisions that ensured not only his place at the top, but also his independence. He knew that the real battle was not just against his opponents on the field, but against the system that tried to control his trajectory. The truth is that LeBron used his fame as a tool to achieve more than any title or trophy. He aimed for something bigger, something that many would never imagine possible, building a legacy that transcends sport. And while the world was focusing on his accomplishments on the court, LeBron was creating his empire off it. He became not just a player, but a brand, a symbol of overcoming, and a reference on social issues. His impact goes beyond the court and is something few know, something he kept carefully hidden to ensure his true strength was in complete control of his own narrative. LeBron James's secret isn't what he did on the court, but how he used the power of the sport to become something greater, something that goes far beyond what the eyes can see. And that, my friends, is something many don't want you to know. Imagine if you had the power to create your own story, a narrative where you are not just a player, but a true master of your destiny. What would you do? How would you act if you had complete control over your career, your image, and most importantly, the impact you can have on the world? LeBron James did just that, and by making bold choices, he was able to build something far greater than anyone thought possible. Now, I want to hear from you. If you had the chance to shape your own trajectory, what would you do differently? Leave your comment below and share how you would take control of your own story. LeBron James is widely recognized as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but what few know is how his first steps to reaching the top were much more difficult and dark than any story the media usually tells. The common narrative revolves around the boy wonder, Akron's meteoric rise to the NBA spotlight, but LeBron's true journey begins in a far more humble and complicated setting than anyone could imagine. Before he was the global icon we know, LeBron was just a boy in a city marked by social and financial difficulties, struggling to find his way in the world of sport. At age 9, LeBron was already a potential star, but he faced a harsh reality at home. His mother, Gloria James, faced constant financial difficulties, which forced the family to move frequently. LeBron didn't grow up in a perfect environment of family support or abundant resources. In fact, his childhood was filled with instability, which made him rely on his own determination and skills to excel. He was a teenager who, instead of getting lost in life's difficulties, used basketball as his escape and as the only possible way to change his reality. This is not something the media tends to emphasize. Instead of just a prodigy discovered by a scout, LeBron was forced to fight every day to get noticed. When he made the school basketball team, expectations were high, but there was also enormous pressure on his shoulders. What few people know is that, at the beginning, LeBron wasn't as brilliant as one might imagine. he had to work hard to develop. The game that would make him unique. In his early years, he wasn't the dominant player everyone knew him to be. He was, in fact, someone who made mistakes, had doubts, and needed time to hone his skills. He also suffered from the pressure of representing not just himself but his entire community. It wasn't just about winning, but about symbolizing the hope for a better life, something that sport could provide. It's at this point that Lebron's story takes a turn that the media rarely mentions. The true strength of his journey was not in his technical ability, but in the mental resilience he built over the years. He faced obstacles that almost discouraged him. LeBron James didn't get to the top alone. He was helped by his community and the few mentors who believed in him when no one else did. The true story of how he actually began his journey is more about the power of persistence and the need to have faith in yourself even when the world was against you. For too long, the public has been sold a narrative about LeBron James, one that omits many of the crucial details of his journey and how he truly achieved success. The version that everyone knows is that of the child prodigy who, with his innate talent, quickly rose to the top of the NBA, achieving everything he wanted without much difficulty. This, however, could not be further from the truth. The reality is that LeBron faced many barriers and had to fight against the system that, from the beginning, wanted to define who he should be. He was not a simple lucky boy who had a chance and took advantage. He was someone who had to fight against the narrative imposed on him. From the moment LeBron was cast as the NBA's next big star, an image of perfection began to build around him, as if he had been blessed with a unique, almost effortless ability. The media loved this story. They wanted everyone to believe that he was the chosen one, that his success was inevitable, that what he achieved was the result of his natural talent alone. But this narrative was actually a lie, disguised as an inspiring story. LeBron, in fact, had to overcome many obstacles and adversities that were not so publicly disclosed. The system around him, both in sport and in society, was more focused on putting a label on his success than actually recognizing the hard work and perseverance he put in to get there. The truth is that LeBron was forced to grow up too quickly. The pressure he faced since he was a teenager was insane. The media treated him as a product, and not as a human being with flaws, insecurities, and doubts. Many journalists and analysts began to treat him as a kind of basketball messiah, someone destined to save the NBA and put the league back in the spotlight. But little did they know that he faced his own internal battles, which were much more complex than any basketball game. LeBron not only had to overcome challenges on the court, but he had to fight against a narrative that saw him as a winning machine, and not as a man with a journey full of ups and downs, mistakes and successes. This narrative was created to sell a simplified story, a story that diminished the reality of his rise. The reality, which many don't want to tell, is that LeBron did not have a career free of failures or defeats. His career was marked by moments of doubt, relentless criticism, and an emotional weight that often almost broke him. LeBron James wasn't just a lucky guy who fell into a perfect scenario. He was a man who defied expectations, ignored imposed narratives, and fought relentlessly to write his own story. A story that is far more complex and inspiring than any simplified version would suggest. LeBron James's story is marked by countless victories and achievements, but among all the challenges he faced, there is one that few know about and that almost made him give up on everything. This moment did not happen on the court, but behind the scenes, away from the eyes of the media and fans. It was a moment where the pressure became unbearable and LeBron's fears and insecurities almost brought him down. We're talking about his first appearance in the NBA Finals in 2007, an event that almost destroyed the world's perception of him. At that time, LeBron was still searching for his identity, fighting to prove that he was more than just a great talent. He wanted to be a champion. But when he reached the grand final against the San Antonio Spurs, LeBron found himself completely lost. In that game, the weight of representing an entire city, an entire state, and most importantly himself, proved to be an unbearable burden. The pressure of being the savior of the country weighed more and more. LeBron, who had already gained a huge following around the world, was now facing the reality that he might not be enough. In that series, he was humiliated. The Cavaliers team was swept by the Spurs, and Lebron, until that moment untouchable, became the target of relentless criticism. The media didn't mince words, and social media played its part in spreading the idea that LeBron James wasn't capable of winning at the highest level. He was labeled as a player who would never be a champion, and the narrative that he was good but not good enough began to spread like wildfire. This moment was a test of character for LeBron. He faced the fear of failing publicly, the fear of never achieving what he so desperately wanted, and the weight of disappointment that fell on his shoulders. Many expected him to be dejected, that failure would be his sentence. But instead, LeBron did what many didn't imagine. He used that loss as fuel. Instead of letting himself be consumed by failure, he dedicated himself to improving and reinventing himself. He realized that the real challenge was not in being perfect, but in how to respond to moments of adversity. He knew he needed to strengthen his mind, improve his game, and above all, prove that he was capable of winning at the highest level. That challenge shaped him in a way few players of his generation would ever be shaped. He didn't give up, and instead of hiding, LeBron came out even stronger. That's the real secret to LeBron James's success: his ability to get back up after a devastating fall and use the pain as the greatest motivation for the next achievement. In 2016, when he finally led the Cavaliers to the NBA title, accomplishing a feat that seemed impossible, he wasn't just defeating the Golden State Warriors, he was winning the internal battle he fought with his own self-doubt. LeBron's biggest challenge was much deeper than any opponent on the court. It was the fight against himself and the ability to believe in his own greatness, even when the world was telling him otherwise. Everyone knows that LeBron James is the hero of the 2016 finals, that player who won the championship with one of the greatest comebacks in NBA history. But what many don't know is that the biggest game of his career, the one that really defined who he would become, happened long before that achievement. He wasn't in a final, there were no trophies at stake, and he wasn't facing the pressure of an entire nation watching him. This game was a simple, regular season game in 2007, a seemingly ordinary matchup between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Detroit Pistons. But for LeBron, this game was the turning point, the moment he truly demonstrated his mental strength and took a step forward on his journey to becoming who he is today. In that game, the Cavaliers were in an uphill struggle to establish themselves. As a force in the East, LeBron was on a team that didn't have the same support as the league's giants, and the Pistons were a dominant team, known for their relentless defense and playoff experience. But LeBron, on a cold May night, refused to be just another player on the court. He had reached a point in his career where he no longer accepted being treated as an unfulfilled promise. He wanted to be more. That game, which went unnoticed by many, was the game in which LeBron decided to be the leader his team needed. He wasn't just playing to win. He was playing to assert his place among the best. What followed was one of the most impressive performances in playoff history. LeBron James, with pressure on his side, led the Cleveland Cavaliers to an epic victory. Against the Pistons, he scored 48 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. But what really made this game stand out wasn't just his individual performance. It was the way he completely controlled the match, the way his presence on the court inspired his teammates and transformed a discredited team into a team capable of achieving the impossible. The impact of that game was profound, because in that moment, LeBron showed that he was not just a rising star, but a true leader. He proved to everyone that when the lights were brightest, he was the guy for the job. And what no one realized at the time was that this victory was the basis for his confidence and resilience that would later lead him to achieve everything he achieved in his career. Unfortunately, most people didn't recognize the size of this victory at the time. The focus was always on the big finals, the big trophies, and at that moment no one gave LeBron the credit he truly deserved for taking his team to the NBA Finals for the first time. The truth is, without that game, without that victory, perhaps LeBron's story would have been very different, because at that moment, LeBron wasn't just beating the Pistons, he was defeating all of his own demons, exceeding expectations, and setting the stage for everything. That came after. LeBron James is not just a basketball player. He was always more than that. From the beginning of his career, he cared deeply about social issues and used his platform to speak out on injustices that affected the lives of millions. But this stance did not come without consequences. In fact, at various points in his career, LeBron faced immense pressure, which almost cost him his career. In a world where athletes are often told to keep their mouths shut and focus solely on the game, LeBron defied those expectations in bold and often controversial ways. He knew his actions could come with a price, but he wasn't willing to remain silent on the issues that really mattered. One of the most memorable moments was when LeBron, along with other athletes, became involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. In 2014, following the murder of Michael Brown in Ferguson, LeBron used his voice to protest systemic racism and police violence. He and his fellow athletes wore "I Can't Breathe" t-shirts during a game in support of Eric Garner, a black man, who was killed by New York police. LeBron's decision to get involved in such a polarizing issue was not an easy one. He knew he was putting himself in a vulnerable position. The media and many other sports people severely criticized him. They wanted him to stay quiet, to just focus on basketball. But LeBron knew his reach was far greater than any basketball game. He understood that, by not taking a stand, he was becoming complicit in the silence that perpetuated injustice. This type of action caused LeBron to be constantly attacked, not only by journalists, but by people who opposed his vision. The pressure on him was immense, especially when his opinions and actions conflicted with the system around him. He knew that by taking a public stance, he could lose sponsors, lose public sympathy, and even see his image as a global brand being damaged. But he never backed down. LeBron has always been steadfast in his belief that a commitment to social justice was more important than fame or money. The way he handled the pressure was a true test of character. While many of his peers have remained silent in the face of pressing social issues, LeBron has become an active voice, challenging the status quo and inciting meaningful change. LeBron didn't just talk, he acted. He founded the LeBron James Family Foundation, whose mission is to help young people in underserved communities access education and a better life. The creation of I Promise School, a school in Akron, Ohio, is a concrete example of how LeBron went beyond words, offering young people a real opportunity to transform their lives. Throughout his career, he made many promises, but the most important was to use his platform to create a positive impact on society, regardless of the personal or professional cost that this might entail. In doing so, LeBron demonstrated that for him, social justice was not just a talking point, but a deep commitment to real, tangible change, something that, over time, would continue to shape his legacy, no matter the odds. In 2010, LeBron James made a decision that would not only change the course of his career, but also forever alter the dynamics of the NBA and the future of the sport itself. Everyone remembers that emblematic moment, the decision, a live broadcast where LeBron announced to the entire world that he would leave the Cleveland Cavaliers and join the Miami Heat. At the time, this choice was seen as one of the boldest and most controversial in the history of the sport. The media, fans, critics, and even other players were perplexed by what LeBron had done. But what many didn't immediately realize was the profound impact this decision would have on not only LeBron's life, but also the entire basketball industry. When LeBron left Cleveland, he wasn't just switching teams. He was creating a new era of basketball. What he did was create a super team alongside Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh, something that challenged the traditional way teams were formed in the NBA. Before this movement, the greatest basketball stars were those who were drafted and molded within the franchises where they started, but LeBron broke that rule. He knew that to achieve the championships and greatness he desired, he needed to be on a team with other stars, and he used his position to reshape the concept of how a successful team should be assembled. This movement made the NBA enter a new era where players began to have more control over their careers, directly influencing where and with whom they would play. But LeBron's decision wasn't just about winning titles, it was also a declaration of freedom. In doing so, he made it clear that he was no longer willing to be the hero of a single city, as many had expected. He wanted something bigger, something that was more than local fame. And as much as the initial reaction was anger and disappointment, especially among Cleveland fans, LeBron knew this was the right choice for him. He made this decision knowing that he would face heavy criticism and would be seen by many as a traitor. But what no one could predict was that in the end, this choice would lead LeBron to what he wanted most, his redemption and winning the titles he dreamed of. Over the years, this decision has proven to be a milestone in LeBron's career. It led him to win 2 consecutive championships with the Heat and redefine his legacy as one of the greatest players in history. More than that, the way LeBron handled adversity following his departure from Cleveland and the criticism he received demonstrated his mental strength and his commitment to his own vision. The impact of this decision was not restricted just to the game, but reverberated throughout all parts of the sporting world, showing that players did have power over their destiny. LeBron James pioneered a new generation of athletes who would take control of their careers in a much more active and strategic way. This not only altered the future of the NBA, but also spread to other sports leagues around the world, forever changing the athlete's role in major career decisions. LeBron James is a basketball legend, but what he's done off the court may be even more impactful than any title he's won. His involvement with social causes and the work he has done to change lives has transformed realities in ways that few people truly understand. When LeBron is not doing what he does best, playing basketball, he is dedicated to a project that is literally changing the future of hundreds of young people and helping families overcome difficulties. The greatest proof of this is the I Promise School, a public school LeBron founded in his hometown of Akron, Ohio. The focus of this school is to give children in vulnerable situations a real chance of having a better future. But what many people don't know is how much LeBron is personally involved in this project. I Promise School is not just a traditional school. It offers students something that few young people in underserved communities can have: real opportunities. LeBron went beyond simply funding the school. He committed to providing emotional, mental, and financial support to children and their families. Children who study there have access to tutors, free meals, and even a full scholarship to college, something that is completely transformative for many of these young people. But the impact doesn't stop at the school walls. LeBron has helped these children's families with what they really need: help finding jobs, psychological support, and, most importantly, a sense of hope that is often lacking in places like Akron. He understood that changing a child's life is not just about giving them a quality education, but also supporting their family so that that child has the best possible start in life. And LeBron's work doesn't stop there. He was actively involved in other causes, such as promoting racial equality and fighting for social justice. LeBron has used his visibility to give a voice to the marginalized, to speak out on issues of police brutality, inequality of opportunity, and prejudice. He's not afraid to take a stand and challenge the norm, even if it puts him in confrontational situations with those who prefer athletes to focus solely on their sports. Instead of hiding behind his fame, LeBron became a true activist. He has become an example of how to use the platform he has to bring about real social change. Furthermore, LeBron has also invested heavily in the media market and entertainment industry. Through your production company, Spring Hill Entertainment, he's creating content that not only celebrates stories of resilience, but also challenges Hollywood narratives about who deserves to be seen and heard. Her projects have addressed issues of race, identity, and the lives of young people in disadvantaged communities, always with the intention of changing the way stories are told. LeBron has become a successful businessman off the court, and in doing so, he is creating a legacy that goes far beyond basketball. He is not only making history with his actions within the sport, but he is shaping a future for people who would never have imagined they could be protagonists of their own stories. In a career as successful as LeBron James's, it is difficult to imagine a mistake that could really damage his image irreversibly, but there is a specific moment that almost made it happen. We're talking about 2010, when LeBron did something that not only surprised fans, but also created a media furor. After 7 seasons with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the player made an unexpected decision when he announced his move to the Miami Heat in a televised event called The Decision. The moment seemed like a celebration, but it quickly turned into one of the biggest mistakes of his career. In doing so, Lebron not only went against the expectations of his hometown and his loyal fans, but he also came to be seen as someone who betrayed the trust of an entire city. Cleveland, which had placed all its hopes and dreams in Lebron, felt abandoned. The event was considered by many to be selfish and disrespectful, as the decision was announced coldly and without regard for fans' feelings. The way he handled the announcement with great pomp and circumstance caused even more resentment. The public expected Lebron to be more humble and private about such an important decision, but he threw himself into the show. The repercussion was instantaneous, and what seemed like a bold and strategic move to many was seen by others as a marketing stunt that devalued the relationship between athlete and fan. During this period, Lebron found himself in the eye of a storm. Not only did he have to face criticism from fans and the media, but he was also the target of taunts from other players who saw his attitude as disrespectful to NBA tradition. The media's treatment was ruthless, and many did not believe he would be able to regain the public's trust. The idea of Lebron as the bad guy spread like wildfire, and his reputation was seriously threatened. To many, he had traded the love and respect of Cleveland for fame and glamour in Miami, in a quest for more titles and recognition. But what Lebron did after that decision showed his emotional intelligence and his ability to overcome obstacles. Throughout his first season with the Heat, he faced harsh criticism, and at many times it seemed like his choice had been a mistake. However, he used that pressure as fuel. Instead of hiding or retreating, Lebron responded with actions. He dedicated himself even more to his game, becoming more focused and determined than ever. The criticism didn't bring him down, but it motivated him to be better. And in 2012 and 2013, he and the Miami Heat won back-to-back NBA titles, with LeBron being the MVP of both finals. Not only did he silence his critics, he also used this experience to learn and grow, showing the world that he could handle adversity and emerge stronger. His ability to turn the page and show that greatness goes beyond criticism is what truly defined his career and, paradoxically, made him even more admired by fans, even after so much turmoil. LeBron James is not just a basketball icon, he is a visionary figure who, since the beginning of his career, has dedicated himself to building a legacy that goes beyond the court. What many don't realize is that while many athletes only focus on the present, LeBron is constantly thinking about the future and how he can impact future generations. This is not just limited to the basketball court, but encompasses all areas in which he has influence. LeBron understands that true greatness is not just being the best at what you do, but also ensuring that future generations have the tools, education, and inspiration to reach new heights, just as he did. One of the most obvious ways in which LeBron has been concerned about the future is through the creation and funding of I Promise School, a school he founded in Akron, Ohio, with the mission of providing a quality education for children from low-income families. The objective is not only to teach traditional subjects, but also to prepare these children for life, offering emotional, psychological, and social support that goes beyond the classroom. LeBron knew that many children in underserved communities didn't have the same opportunities he did, and so he wanted to give them the chance to achieve their dreams, whether in basketball or in any other field. But he didn't stop there. The school offers college scholarships and even helps the families of these students with financial needs, showing that LeBron is not only changing the lives of students, but their families as well. By creating I Promise School, he was not just offering a chance to a limited number of children, but he was planting seeds of hope that can reverberate for decades, creating a cycle of transformation and opportunity for an entire community. But LeBron doesn't stop at education. He has invested in several initiatives that aim to prepare future generations for the challenges that the world will face. In your production company, Spring Hill Entertainment, he is producing films and documentaries that address social, cultural, and identity issues, always with the aim of inspiring young people to see themselves differently, to believe in the power of change, and to fight for a fairer world. LeBron understands that, to build a better future, it is essential that young people see representation and empowerment in their stories. He is creating content that not only entertains but educates and inspires future leaders and innovators to engage on the issues that really matter. Furthermore, LeBron has been concerned with teaching young athletes the importance of taking control of their own careers, showing that they can be more than just players on a team, but entrepreneurs and influencers who can shape their own trajectories. He constantly talks about the power of financial education and how athletes should be prepared for what comes after retirement. LeBron has been an example of this, investing in several areas beyond basketball, including technology, media, and even real estate. He knows his influence can reach far beyond sports, and that's what he has worked tirelessly to build, a platform for future generations, not just in basketball, but across all industries. LeBron James has dedicated himself to creating a legacy that goes far beyond basketball, investing in the future of thousands of young people and ensuring they have real opportunities to transform their lives. He's planting the seeds for a better future, and that's truly inspiring. But I want to hear from you. What do you think we can do in our daily lives to also help the next generation to have a better future? Leave your comment below and share your ideas. Throughout his career, LeBron James has always remained a widely admired public figure, but at the same time, surrounded by mysteries. Despite his image being projected as a hugely successful athlete, some people close to him share stories that reveal a side of him that the public rarely sees. Those who have had the privilege of working directly with LeBron and even following him off the court describe him as someone much more complex and profound than the public figure we know. Behind the superstar, there is a man extremely dedicated to his family, friends, and the ideals he represents. Many of his acts of generosity and commitment to social causes that we see in the news were motivated by a genuine desire to change lives, something he began cultivating long before he gained international fame. The first thing that always comes up in the reports of those closest to him is his relentless dedication. LeBron is a tireless worker. Those who have spent hours by his side in training and meetings admit that what sets him apart from many other athletes is not just his talent, but his work ethic. He accepts nothing less than the best of himself, and if you are by his side, you will try your hardest too, says one of his closest coaches. Many who have witnessed his behavior behind the scenes, away from the spotlight, highlight the way he constantly seeks to evolve, whether in basketball or as a human being. LeBron is not the type to settle. He is the type of person who constantly looks for ways to improve, learn, and grow, challenging others to do the same. But it's not just his professionalism that impresses those close to him. Those who know him well, friends and family, speak of his immense generosity. LeBron has a huge heart, always willing to help those around him. There are several stories of how he quietly reached out to help those in need without wanting recognition or fame for it. He is someone who would often prefer to go unnoticed when doing a good deed, which is a rarity in a world where fame and the spotlight often overshadow the purest intentions. LeBron has the ability to transform lives, not just with big gestures, but with small acts of kindness that remain engraved in the memory of those who receive them. Close friends mention that for LeBron, there is no act of generosity too small. He takes care to listen, understand, and act on the needs of those around him, whether helping with something simple or committing to long-term causes, such as creating his school for underprivileged children. But despite being widely admired, even LeBron has his moments of vulnerability. Reports from those close to him indicate that he was never afraid to show his feelings, especially in relation to his hometown, Cleveland. During the entire time he was in Miami, LeBron felt constant pressure for not being able to deliver the title he had promised so much to his city. He knew that to redeem himself, he would have to return and fulfill what many saw as a broken promise. These moments of honesty about his flaws and fears are not something LeBron reveals to the public in its entirety, but to those close to him, they are signs of his genuine character, of someone who, despite all his victories, still cares deeply about how others perceive him and the impact of his actions. LeBron James's trajectory is, without a doubt, one of the most fascinating and complex in the world of sports. From boy wonder to global icon, he overcame countless obstacles and made decisions that changed not only his life, but also the course of basketball history. His journey, marked by exciting victories, controversial choices and actions off the court, shows us a man far beyond the athlete we see on screen. Lebron has built a legacy based on resilience, generosity, and a deep commitment to change, both in and out of the game. But what's even more intriguing is knowing that this story is still ongoing. What will LeBron do next? What new chapters will he write for himself and future generations? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. His journey continues to be a source of inspiration, and his impact will be felt for years to come. The true story of LeBron James has yet to be revealed. If you've made it this far, we want to know how this video touched your heart. Comment below and share how this message spoke to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving transformative content, leave a like to support this mission, and of course, watch the next video that is already on the final screen. See you there.